Okay, this is number 13 and we're going to be talking about investment appraisal. Now, investment appraisal, all it is when a firm undertakes an investment, so therefore it's about the future, what you're trying to do as a business individual, you are trying to calculate the returns that you will make on that particular investment. And with A-level business studies, there are three ways of looking at an investment. We can use net present value, we can use the average rate of return, and we can use payback. And they all have different advantages and disadvantages. So what I'm going to do in number 13, I'm going to talk you through net present value. Number 14, I'll be talking you through the average rate of return. And number 15, I will talk you through payback. Then we will sort of summarize all of those particular arguments, and then we will compare that with some ratio analysis. Now, ratio analysis is always about the past, okay? Now, it's quite an unusual way of doing it, because normally teachers will do ratio analysis first and then they will do investment appraisal, but I just do it this way. Now, the first technique is really easy to do, but it's really difficult to understand, okay? So let me talk you through it. The first one is called net present value, the NPV, or is often called the NPV method. And I've got a very simple example up here. So I get my glasses right. I've got a very simple example up here where a business invests 20 million quid, and in year one they make 10 million. In year two it makes 20 million, and in year three it makes 20 million pounds. Now you can just look at that and you can go, well, of course you're going to go ahead with that investment. It's clearly very, very good. Assuming, of course, that these figures are correct. Now, of course, these figures are built upon various assumptions. So that's something that you always have to look at in an A-level paper. You've got to test the assumption. Who has put those assumptions together? How good is the market research? Has the firm got a good track record of success in this area? Okay, so the net present value takes into account the time value of money. Now, what the hell does that mean? It means this. It means that £10 in a year's time is only really worth £9 10p today. So on the paper, they must give you some discount factors on there. £10 in 2 years' time is worth £8.20, and £10 in 3 years' time, according to these figures, is worth £7.30. Now, why is money in the future worth less than money today? Well, there's two reasons for that. Number one is inflation. So £10 today will be worth more than £10 in a year's time because we will have had inflation. So therefore that will reduce the real value of that money. And the second one is, if we've got the money today, we can put that money in the bank and we will get interest on that money. So therefore money today is always worth more than it is in the future, right? Unless of course you have deflation, but we won't worry about that. And it's very, very rare that we have deflation in the UK. In fact, we haven't had it for, we've always had inflation ever since I've been teaching economics. So this is what this means. In reality, when you go along to make an investment, your accountant will have discount tables with him with numerous figures on at different discount factors. I think this one is a 12% discount factor. Okay. Anyway, we've chosen these ones and they must appear on the exam paper for you to be able to work out the answer. Now, the big advantage of net present value is it takes into account the time value of money, because money in the future is worth less than it is today. Okay, so £10 in 3 years' time is only worth £7.30. And the second thing is it's quite easy to work out. The disadvantage of the net present value is it's a difficult concept for people to understand. Okay, hopefully by the end of this session you will understand the concept. But it's a difficult thing for people to get their heads around. Not that tricky, but quite tricky. Okay, so in this case on here, all we do is, as I just said, it's easy to work out, is £10 million in a year's time. We multiply that by 0.91, 10 million times 0.91, and that is equal to 9.1 million pounds. Then we've got 20 million times 0.82, that is worth 16.4 million, and 20 million times 0.73, and that is going to be worth 14.6 million. We add them all up and that comes to 40.1 million pounds. Okay, so that means that you will make 40.1 million quid, but of course we've invested 20 million pounds already into the project, so we need to take that away. So it's 40.1 million minus 20, and the answer is 20.1 million. Now this is the big mistake that people often make. Well, if that appears in the exam, students will go, well, 20.1 million is only 0.1 million bigger than 20 million, therefore we should not go ahead with the project. Okay? You'll often find actually this number here will be less than this number. So they may say, well, this number is less than this number, therefore we do not go ahead with the project. That is wrong, totally wrong. What it means is we have made 20.1 million pounds in today's money. Now, if we look at the figure, our natural reaction when we look at that figure at the beginning is to say, well, of course it's a good investment. Yeah, which it clearly is a good investment because it just looks good. You know, we invest 20 million, we get 50 million quid out. That looks pretty good to me. So we have made 20.1 million pounds, taking into account the time value of money. Now, the only other thing to add to this is you may have a set of investment criteria. So the investment criteria for net present value may well be, for example, that you need to make 50% back off the initial sum. So in this case, if we make 50% of 20 million quid, which would be 10 million pounds, if we make more than that, then we go ahead with the project. In this case, we made 20.1 million, so it's a pretty good deal, and we would definitely go ahead with that project. Often, I've only seen it once on the exam paper, they often put something down like 25%. So in this case, 25% of 20 million will be 5 million pounds, so clearly we should go ahead with this project, okay? So we've done net present value, then we're going to do the average rate return, and then we're going to do payback with the same numbers. Okay, thank you.